Welcome to Philippine Canadian Enquirer's Daily News Roundup, brought to you by CanadianEnquirer.net, your only Filipino-Canadian daily news portal. I'm Rowan Echo, and here are stories making headlines today. Chacha should include anti-dynasty provision, says Pimentel. Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III sees the need of incorporating a self-executing anti-political dynasty provision in the charter change as the government shifts to federalism. Quote, in the Philippines, since we are already amending the Constitution, so why omit that self-executing anti-political dynasty provision? Unquote, Pimentel said in an ANC interview. He stressed that the need for such amendment is undebatable as it is undoubtedly advantageous. But Pimentel said this can only happen by pressuring the Filipino people, as they are the one who will vote the passage of the constitutional amendment. Quote, we just have to pressure the decision makers in this constitutional change procedure to adopt such beneficial provision. There must be pressure, hence people must be interested, and there must be vigilance on the part of the people, unquote, he said. The anti-political dynasty provision was suggested by Pimentel amid fears that the government's shift to federalism would promote political dynasties. Human rights concerns loom over sale of Canadian helicopters to the Philippines. The Canadian government is facilitating the sale of 16 helicopters to the Philippine military, which human rights groups have accused of killing civilians and committing other atrocities while waging a war on two rebel groups. The Canadian Commercial Corporation, whose role includes selling military goods to other countries on behalf of the government, says the Philippines agreed to buy the Canadian-made Bell helicopters at the end of December. The Crown Corporation would not reveal any other details about the deal, citing commercial confidentiality, but media reports say the Philippines government set aside nearly $300 million for the purchase. The deal represents another win for the Canadian defense industry when it comes to the Southeast Asian nation. Canada also sold 8 Bell helicopters made in Montreal to the Philippine Armed Forces in 2015. But it is also the latest to spark concerns from human rights and arms control groups, which have previously raised red flags about recent Canadian arms deals with Saudi Arabia, Colombia, and other destinations. They say there is evidence the Philippine military has been committing human rights abuses while fighting Islamist militants on the southern island of Mindanao and in a war against communist rebels in other parts of the country. Trump continues to paint immigrants as criminals. President Donald Trump is continuing his habit of painting immigrants as criminals, highlighting gang connections, calling family reunification a national security threat, and bemoaning the death of a pro football player involved in a car accident with a man living in the country illegally. Speaking to law enforcement officials at the White House on Tuesday, Trump singled out the MS-13 gang, which is believed to be behind 25 killings on New York's Long Island in the past 2 years and has become a prime target of the Trump administration. Quote, we've really never seen anything quite like this. The level of ferocity, the level of violence, and the reforms we need from Congress to defeat it, unquote, Trump told law enforcement officials and lawmakers, eventually threatening another federal government shutdown if Democrats don't agree to pass an immigration package he said would help keep gang members out. Quote, if you don't get rid of these loopholes where killers are allowed to come into our country and continue to kill, if you don't change it, let's have a shutdown, unquote, Trump suggested. Quote, I'd love to see a shutdown if we don't get this stuff taken care of, unquote. That wraps up our news here on PZI Daily News Roundup. Thank you for joining us. For more news stories, visit our website at www.canadianenquirer.net.